Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia Crasco, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Hey, welcome back to the Stepmom Side podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and here's where we tackle the ups, downs, and everything in between when it comes to stepmom life. And, always there's a little bit more, but this one specifically is going to be about stepmom life, as you saw by the title of this podcast. So, today we're going to dive into something that hits home for many of us, that gut wrenching feeling of feeling like you're a third wheel in your own family. And it doesn't matter if it's the kids flocking to their dad, the constant reminders of the ex, or just that nagging sense of not belonging. Today, I'm going to break it all down and we're going to figure out how to take back your seat at the family table, if you will. I'm like, what's the analogy I want to use? So, first of all, let's call it what it is. It's feeling like an outsider. And so you might catch yourself watching your partner and their kids having a moment and think, where do I even fit in? Or maybe every time you try to join, you feel like you're just in the way, or it's like glaringly obvious that like you don't fit in. I just want to tell you that this is not uncommon. And guess what? It doesn't make you a bad stepmom, it makes you human. I felt for so many years like I was the outsider, like I was the third wheel, like I was the forgotten toy. Like when my stepkid showed up, like I felt like I wasn't, but like I felt like I was the center of my husband's world when they weren't around. But then when they were here, it was like, Alicia, who? What? I don't even know who she is. And I said that to him, like, I feel like a forgotten toy. And he was like, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. But the truth is, feeling like a third wheel often stems from the dynamic of a pre-existing family unit. So the kids already have a history with their dad. You didn't get to build that foundation from the start. And now you're trying to find your footing in a place that feels like you can't even get in. So, like I said, trust me, I've been there. You know, if you've been here for a while, you know my story, like Googling how to get divorced and wondering, like, how did I end up in a house that felt like a shrine to someone else's family? Like, does that sound familiar to you? So, let's peel back the layers. So, let's understand, like, the root cause of this. Why do we feel like third wheels? It could be one, the kids are just naturally gravitating towards their parent. Totally normal, totally natural. Like they've known their parent forever, and you're still the new person in their eyes, even if it's been there for years. Like you don't have that history from day one. Like you haven't been there since day one or pre day one. And so there's a lot of like situations that have already like fallen into place. Like that foundation's already been set. Like the traditional roles have already been set of like who's where and who like what role are they playing. There's all of the inside jokes. There's just so many things that you're like, how am I ever going to fit in when it comes to this? Number two, the comparison to the ex, whether it's a subtle situation or it's glaring, the ex's presence looms large. And it's hard to feel like you're not competing, even though that's not what you want to feel like. Like it always feels like your stepkids are like, well, my mom does this, or my mom does that, or she, does this better, or she does that better. And you're like, I don't want to be your mom. I want to be me. And here's what I say to you, like, you are the only one that gets to be a stepmom. Like, she's the only one that gets to be mom, but you are the only one that gets to be stepmom. So just like take that for what it's worth. Like, and if you are a stepmom and you want kids of your own and you're like, but I desperately want to be a mom, great. Their mom role is already filled. We are going to set you up with your own kids if that's in the cards for you. And you get to be that mom for your own kids. But please don't ever try to come in and like replace the mom. Even when my stepson was here full time, his mom is still his mom. I I get to be the stepmom and no one else gets to be that. She doesn't get to be that, my husband doesn't get to be that, the stepdad doesn't get to be that. I'm the only one that gets to be the stepmom. So just like take pride in the fact that you are the only one that gets to be a stepmom. Number three, it could be a lack of clear role definition. What is your role in this family? Are you a parent, a friend, the cook, the referee? When the roles are unclear, it's easy to feel like you're in a no man's land. And if you are trying to figure out like what your role is, I actually have a free resource for you. It's defining your stepmom role. I will link that in the show notes, but getting clear on like what your actual role is will help you so much and feeling like you're not the third wheel. So understanding the root cause doesn't make the feeling like magically disappear, but it does give us clarity, and clarity is one step closer to making a change. And yes, I'm going to link this free resource for you, but this isn't something that's just going to like snap your fingers and it's going to disappear overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. So, let's talk about a few actionable steps that you can take to reclaim your seat. I'm all about solutions. So, how do you move from being the third wheel to being an integral part of your family? Here are some tried and true strategies. One, this is one I always get pushback on. One, communicate with your partner. Share how you're feeling without placing the blame. Like that is definitely the important part there. None of this, your kids do this, you do that, you do. No, everyone is going to shut down. If I came to you and said, you do this, you do that, you're going to be like, what in the hell? No, start with using I statements. I feel left out when, so that way they can understand your perspective. And chances are they don't even realize it's happening. And you might be sitting there thinking, Alicia, there's no way that they don't realize that it's happening. And I am here to tell you, girlfriend, like, yeah, there's a very good chance they have no idea that it's happening. So I feel left out when we're all watching a movie and the kids are all over you, and I am sitting in the recliner by myself, or I'm sitting on the opposite side of the couch by myself, and no one even notices. Or I feel left out when we are at a museum or at the zoo or out on a family outing, and both kids are holding your hand, and I'm off to the side just walking along with both of you. Like, can I hold your hand at some point? Like, when does that happen? And maybe that sounds childish to you, but if that's something that matters to you, that's something that matters to you. So, two, find your connection point with the kids. Maybe it's a shared hobby. Maybe it's cooking together. Maybe it's cheering them on at their soccer games. These moments don't need to be huge. Small, consistent actions build relationship over time. And I talk about this a lot, but like you need to celebrate your small wins because those small wins lead to your bigger wins. So celebrate the small things that you can do with your stepkids and not feel like the outsider, because then eventually that big win that you want, which is to feel like you're included, will eventually happen. And you'll be like, I don't even remember the last time I felt like I was an outsider. Number three, set boundaries with the ex dynamic. This is such a massive one. If the ex's presence is overshadowing your role, it's time to have some boundary setting conversations. Respectful co-parenting obviously is the goal, but it shouldn't come at the expense of your place in the family. So if it feels like she's in everything, and or you guys are laying in bed and you're about to go to bed and you guys are talking about her. Okay, let's start there. First, we're not having conversations in bed about your partner's ex. Like that's just not something that we're going to do. If she feels like she can just walk in whenever she wants, okay, let's have a conversation about what that is now going to look like. I also have a free resource on setting boundaries. I will link that in the show notes as well. But we need to get great at setting boundaries. And just so you know, setting boundaries doesn't make you evil. It doesn't make you bad. It makes you like prioritizing your own mental health. So you're not losing it every single time something happens. So number four, define your role. Sit down with your partner and discuss what you both envision your role to be. This might change over time. I'm promising you it will. But having a game plan helps you feel more grounded. Like I said, I have a free resource on this, defining your role. And here's the crazy thing about being a stepmom. Once you feel like, yes, I've got this under control, I know what I'm doing, this is going to be great, something else will come along and you'll be like, I, I thought we were good. Like the other shoe just dropped. Like what happened? Like how did we get here? Like this is not where I want to be, but life happens. Change is inevitable. And even if you want the change, like it's still kind of hard. So just hang in there. Number five, again, celebrate your wins. Every step forward counts. Did the kids laugh at your joke? That's a huge win. Did you and your partner have a united front on something? Hell yeah, it's about damn time, right? Those are wins and those are definitely worth celebrating. And I will tell you this, if you are constantly looking for the negative, if you are constantly looking for how do I look like an outsider? How am I being made to feel like an outsider? I am those stories, if you keep feeding those stories will keep running around in your head. But if you're like, okay, I am making the change to not feel like an outsider, you will start to see that. Which leads me to my next thing. Like, let's talk about the mindset shift. So here's the thing, lady. You don't need to be just like their mom, their best friend, or even their favorite person. Your role is unique, and that's a good thing. I know you're like, oh, I don't know if I like that. No, that is a good thing. Embrace what you bring to the table, your quirks, your strengths, your perspective. When you focus on what you can control rather than what you can't, you'll start to see that shift. Like I said, if you are focused on the negative parts of being a stepmom, that's what you're going to see. But if you focus on, like, okay, here are ways that I can fit in, here are ways that I can make connections with my stepkids, those are going to be the things that you see, and you're going to have more opportunities, like having a better connection with your stepkids. And remember, belonging isn't just about them accepting you, it's about you accepting yourself in this role. And for another thing, like, if you think that this is just about you and you're just not being included because it's you, like they hate you, they think you're ugly, they think you're stupid, they think you're whatever. I'm just gonna tell you this. If you and I switched positions, they're gonna treat me the exact same way. The exact same way. So it's about building your confidence and making sure that you feel good and solid in your role on your own without looking for that external validation of like, okay, I'm good, I'm doing it right. This is about accepting yourself in this role. Remember that. So that's a wrap for today's episode, but I hope that you're walking away with some insights, few strategies, and most importantly, hope. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat that again. I hope that you're walking away with some insights, strategies, but most importantly, like a little bit of hope. You do belong in your family and you're not alone in this. If today's episode resonated with you, please do me a favor and share it with a fellow stepmom who might need to hear this. Maybe you've got stepmom friends online that are like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling in my role. Like, I feel like the outsider. I feel like the third wheel. Send this to them. And please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that way you get a notification every single time that a new episode drops every Tuesday. And can you please leave a rating and a review on Apple? Like, that would mean the world to me. I'm thinking about maybe like reading different reviews that I get every episode or every few episodes and just like, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for this review. Here's what it is. But yeah, your support helps this podcast reach more stepmoms who need it. So until next week, keep your head high, your heart open, and remember, you've got this. Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Crosco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.